Hello everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to Unacademy. Yes, Navsing. Good afternoon. This is a very important class on various literary movements and groups in English literature. As you all know that not only in British literature but also in some other English literatures like American, Canadian, Australian, African, there are a number of literary movements which happened during every ages. Yes, Ranu, good afternoon, welcome. Today I have collected for you some of important literary movements and groups, and this is the first part of the video. In my upcoming classes, I will cover up more literary movements. So yes, Rupali, good afternoon. So before starting, I want to give you a brief introduction about myself. So students, my name is Brishti Mukherjee. I have qualified NTA UGC NET exam in English literature 3 times and West Bengal SET exam this year. I have 10 months of teaching experience. I have also topped NPTEL online course from IIT Madras 3 times. So yes, Umed, good afternoon, welcome. So as you all know that in this YouTube channel, I am taking classes from Monday to Friday daily at 3 p.m. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about Unacademy. As you all know, Unacademy is the largest learning platform in India. So if you want to download Unacademy learning app, then you need to go to Google Play Store, search for the Unacademy learning app, you can install it and then click on the category of NTA UGC NET. If you want to take subscription, then you can choose for 12 months or 24 months subscription plan. And if you use my referral code Brishti10, you will get 10% extra discount in your overall price. Okay. So that's about Unacademy, and this is my Unacademy profile. So please click on the follow button so that you will be notified every time I post a new special class. So Ranu, Rupali, have you watched my special class on Unacademy learning app? I have already taken 3 special classes. You are joining my classes on YouTube, but I haven't seen you in my special class. Have you seen the recording session? Now is there in my special class, but Ranu, Rupali, Ruby is not here. What about all of you? Ranu, have you joined the Telegram channel which I have posted in my yesterday's class? Have you got the link of my Telegram channel? Okay, so I am posting the link here again. This is the link of the Telegram channel. Just wait a minute, I am posting the link. Okay, so this is the link of the Telegram channel. Okay, so please join the Telegram channel. Here you will be notified each and every time I will take a new special class. Tomorrow I also have 2 special classes, so I will post the link on the Telegram channel. I will tell you all the timings at the end of this class. Okay. Yes, Rupali, please watch all those videos. I have already taken 2 classes on Canterbury Tales, and today's class was about important autobiographies. Please watch. Yes, Sahil, good afternoon. Welcome. Okay. So now let's begin today's class. The very first important literary movement which I would like to talk to you about is Transcendentalism. Okay. So Transcendentalism is a very important movement and it is mainly associated with American literature. Okay, Ranu, no need to say sorry. I'm just thinking that have you got the link or not, as I'm very new to this platform. So I'm just asking whether you can access my class or not. That's it. कोई बात नहीं, कभी भी देख लेना. Okay, so Transcendentalism is the most important movement in American literature. Now, it is actually a philosophical and literary movement in New England region. Okay, so New England region means around Boston. Okay, so Boston is actually a part of America, an American place. So in Boston, that means in the New England region. Okay, so in the New England region, a kind of philosophical and literary movement started, which was called Transcendentalism. Okay, and when was it started? It started in mid 19th century. Okay. So before the starting of the movement, a transcendental club was formed in 1836. Okay, and all the transcendentalist poets became the member of that club. Okay, so Transcendentalist Club was formed, and it was actually formed by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So Emerson's full name is Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Okay. So Ralph Waldo Emerson is the leader of Transcendentalist movement. Okay, and they published a journal called the Dial. Okay, so remember the name of the journal, the Dial, which was published in 1840 and continued up to 1844. So for 4 years, the journal was published in America, and the name of the Dial is given by Amos Bronson Alcott. Okay, he is another transcendentalist poet. So the names are a bit complex because these are all American names. So please try to remember that. Amos Bronson Alcott actually gave the name the Dial. Okay. So take a quick recap. Transcendentalism is a philosophical and literary movement, and also it is an idealistic movement, okay, which first started in Boston, in and around Boston, which is also known as New England region in America. When was it started? It was started in the mid 19th century. Okay, and a group of poets has formed Transcendental Club, which was formed in 1836. The main leader was Ralph Waldo Emerson, and the Transcendentalist poets published a journal called the Dial which was first published in 1840 and continued up to 1844. And the name Dial was given by Amos Bronson Alcott. Okay. Mahatma Gandhi was deeply influenced by Yes, Mahatma Gandhi was inspired by transcendentalist poets, but instead of Emerson, actually Mahatma Gandhi was more impressed by Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau, who wrote the book Civil Disobedience. Mahatma Gandhi actually more influenced by Thoreau rather than Emerson. Okay, Sahil. So Civil Disobedience is a very important book written by Henry David Thoreau, another transcendentalist poet. Yes. Actually, Civil Disobedience is written by Henry David Thoreau, not by Emerson, Sahil. Okay. So in that sense, Mahatma Gandhi was deeply influenced by transcendentalist philosophy. But if you want to take a name of a particular poet, then you should mention Henry David Thoreau. Because Civil Disobedience is actually written by Thoreau. Okay. So now, what are the next features? The name Transcendental is taken from Immanuel Kant's philosophy. That is why I have said that it is also a philosophical movement. So transcendentalist poet has a lot of beliefs which I will discuss later. So transcendental is taken from Kant, and they followed utilitarianism and closely related to it. Um, they believed in the unity of human life with God and nature. Utilitarianism is also another movement. No point to say sorry, Sahil. Mistakes can happen. Okay, no point to say sorry. We are all learning here. You are also learning from me. I am also learning from you. So no point to say sorry. Okay. So now, utilitarianism is also another literary movement. I will talk about it later. So they followed utilitarianism and closely related to it also. Now, what are the beliefs? They believed in the unity of human life with God and nature. So very close to the Romantic movement in English literature, right? The Romantic movement, especially Wordsworth, also believed in the spirituality of nature and the relationship between human being and nature. Actually, transcendentalists believe that human beings are all, thank you. So, human beings are all part of this big cosmos. So, God, if God is the God is the macrocosm, human beings are the microcosm. Okay, so that is how human life is closely related with God and also nature. So, that is the belief of transcendentalism. And they also believed in intuitive thinking and focused on imagination. So like the English romantic poets, they also believed in some intuitive thinking. They believed in some intuition, not only some direct or fact-based thing. They only believed in intuition of human mind, and also they focused on imagination. Okay, so they also focused on imagination. Now there are also some other important features. So according to the transcendentalists, people are self-reliant and independent. So it was their belief that human beings are all independent and self-reliant. Okay. They also believed in the inherent goodness of human beings. Society corrupts them. So what does that mean? According to the transcendentalist people, they believed that as human beings are actually part of God or part of nature, so they are inherently good. They are basically good. Okay. So human beings have been created by God as good people, as virtuous people. But what happened that when human beings come to live in the society or in our surroundings, so it is due to the society through which human beings are getting corrupted. So they believe that society is responsible. Society or social structure, the people who are taking care of society, because of that, the societal leaders, okay, the political leaders, so because of that, human beings are getting corrupted. But inherently, human beings have no vices, human beings have only virtues. Okay, so they believe that all people, all human beings have some inherent goodness, but which is getting more and more corrupted due to societal rules, the class division, caste divisions, which are created by the societal people. Okay. Ma'am, I have a request. Can you please make some timing changes in your Unacademy classes? 8 a.m. is too early, ma'am. Sahil, really, this is very difficult because 8 a.m. time is more comfortable for me because I have to take a number of classes, so I also need to take some break in between. Okay, that is why I have chosen the timing 8 a.m. and in the afternoon 3 p.m. I will try, Sahil, but I don't think I can change my time. Very sorry, because I am also pursuing my B.Ed degree. So now I am at home, but from next month when my colleges will start, I will not be able to take classes after 8 a.m. That is why I have make a fixed schedule of 8 a.m. Okay. So that is very difficult, but I will try, Sahil, but I don't think that if I can change the timing. I'm sorry. So please try to attend at least some of the sessions. Okay, if you can't attend all classes, watch the recording sessions, but please attend some of the sessions. Okay. Hi Kavita, I'm fine. कविता, आप स्पेशल क्लास में कहाँ रहते हो बेटा? आप यूट्यूब पर तो आ जाते हो टाइमिंगली, लेकिन स्पेशल क्लास में क्या होता है? मैंने 3 स्पेशल क्लासेस ऑलरेडी ले चुकी हूँ अनअकैडमी में। क्या बात है? If it is in afternoon, would be better. Okay, Sahil, I will try. Actually, in afternoon, I have already one class. Okay, from 3 p.m. and it when it finishes, it is almost 4:30. So I will have to prepare the PPT for my next class in the evening time. That is why I have kept the evening time free for my own preparation. Okay, so that is how I have set my schedule. Kavita, please try to attend my special classes also. Okay, at 8 a.m. Okay, so coming back to the topic. The transcendentalists people believe that मैम मेरा अनअकैडमी ऐप चल नहीं रहा है क्यों कविता? एक बार अनइंस्टॉल करके फिर इंस्टॉल कर लो, शायद हो जाएगा। और या फिर कोई अपडेट का ऑप्शन आ रहा है प्ले स्टोर में, तो एक बार अपडेट भी कर लो। ऐप में तो शायद कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, क्योंकि मेरा जो एजुकेटर का ऐप है वो तो चल रहा है। एक बार अनइंस्टॉल करके देख सकते हो कविता। So now society, according to the transcendentalist poet, human beings are inherently good, but society actually corrupts them. Okay, that is their belief. So they are basically very optimistic in nature. So they think that they can restore the inherent goodness in human beings by again bringing them in close contact with nature. So that was the belief. Yes, update the app, Kavita. Yes. OTP की प्रॉब्लम चल रही है. Okay. Maybe some problem is occurring, but I think it will be resolved very soon. So it is very optimistic in nature. The transcendentalist poets are very optimistic in nature. And who are the poets? This is very important to know. Henry David Thoreau, Walt Whitman, Emily Dickinson, Margaret Fuller, George Ripley, and Elizabeth Peabody. So they are mainly the major poets of transcendentalism. And Emerson's Nature is a very important essay related to transcendentalism. Okay. And Thoreau's Civil Disobedience, Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass is a very famous work. Leaves of Grass. Okay. And there are other poets, Emily Dickinson, Margaret Fuller also. They are the some other poets. Now, Emerson's essay, Nature, this is a very famous essay, and you can say that this is the Bible of transcendentalism. Okay, so this is the very first essay written by Emerson. I think this was also published in 1836. So during in this essay, Emerson actually lays down all the important principles associated with transcendentalism. Yes, Emily Dickinson's poem are very beautiful. Yes, Ranu. So Emerson's Nature describes how nature helps us by giving commodities, beauty, language, discipline, and aesthetic purpose of our life. So Emerson describes that how nature helps us. Nature not only gives us beauty or commodities, but nature also teaches us discipline. Okay, nature also gives us language, how to express our emotions, and nature also gives some aesthetic purpose of our life. Okay, that is the belief of, yes, I celebrate myself, Walt Whitman's famous poem. So actually, Song of Myself is the poem. Okay, so aesthetic purpose of our life, and in this movement actually was inspired by English and German Romanticism, Jainism, Buddhism, and also Indian philosophy. So this belief of the relationship between human beings and God, this is very common in our Indian context. So the transcendentalist people were actually inspired by both English and German Romanticism, as well as Indian philosophy, Jainism, and Buddhism. Okay. So this is all about transcendentalism. Clear? Now, next important movement is Surrealism. Surrealism, another very important movement. Okay, so what is Surrealism? Surrealism is actually a French movement which was originated in the early 1920s. Okay, so it is in early 1920s. This movement was started first of all in France. And surrealism, the word surrealism actually has came from the word superrealism. Okay. Surrealism means superrealism. Now this word superrealism was coined by Guillaume Apollinaire. He is also a French critic or French artist. So superrealism is a term coined by Guillaume Apollinaire, and from superrealism the term surrealism came. Now, what is surrealism? André Breton, very famous name, he started this movement by writing the Manifesto of Surrealism. So, this is actually a work written by André Breton. So, remember the French name André Breton, who started it by writing Manifesto of Surrealism. Okay, and actually he was the leader of the movement, you may say. Now, it developed from Dadaism. Now, what is Dadaism? I will explain it to you. So, surrealists tried to project the workings of unconscious mind in art and literature. I will also show you some of surrealist pictures also. So, they actually tried to project the workings of unconscious mind. So, they are basically influenced by Freud's idea. I hope you all know that Sigmund Freud has given the famous theory that our mind is mostly unconscious. A large number of our desires are lying suppressed in the unconscious, and unconscious is actually the storehouse of everything. So our conscious mind is just like the top of an iceberg. Freud has given a very important theory that if this is the seabed, okay, so this is the iceberg, the top of the iceberg. This is our conscious mind, and beneath that, and under the sea, the remaining part of the iceberg, which we can't see, is actually our unconscious mind. Okay. So that is the belief of Freud. So surrealism is also based on that belief. They are trying to portray our unconscious mind in art and literature. Okay. So now, the surrealism is actually a movement in art, okay, in the field of art. But later it also came into literature. Now, surrealism is a revolt against logical reason, standard morality, social norms, and all restraints on creativity. So, it's a very revolutionary art movement. It revolted against all logical reason, all standard morality, social norms. So the surrealist artists actually trying to create a new kind of reality where there is no rules regarding logic, no rules regarding morality. Okay, so it's a complete world of creativity where you can where there is no restraint on creativity. So you can create everything freely. Okay, so that is the major purpose of the surrealist artists. Now, what are the important feature of arts? There are bizarre, disjointed, shocking images. Okay, so if you see some of surrealist paintings, you will identify that there are bizarre and shocking images. Okay, so why the images are bizarre and shocking? Because it is actually to portray the unconscious mind. So our unconscious mind is not structured at all. Okay, so our unconscious mind is not at all structured. That is why the surrealist arts are also not structured. Many symbols are used to tell a story, so it's very difficult to understand in that sense. Many symbols are used, many shocking images are used, which is very different from any normal paintings. Okay, it follows no logical pattern. Yes, Rupali, quite similar to stream of consciousness, but stream of consciousness is actually a genre of novel, and it is actually an art movement. But yes, in stream of consciousness also our the our unconscious mind is getting reflected, and there also there is no proper plot construction, there is no proper chronology of events are arranged in a very haphazard manner. So you can also see the same thing in surrealist art also. Yes, so it follows no logical pattern, and if you read surrealist works, you will find broken syntax and nightmarish sequences. So there are something very nightmarish events are described with some shocking images. Okay, and also there are broken syntax, so very fragmented words and sentences are there. So who are the surrealist writers and artists? Thomas Pynchon, David Gascoigne, Hugh Sykes Davis, Philip Lamantia, and Louis Aragon. So they are, yes, non-linear plot lines, Sahil. We will find in Stream of Consciousness novel. So Thomas Pynchon, David Gascoigne, Hugh Sykes Davis, Philip Lamantia, Louis Aragon. So they are all associated with Surrealist movement. Okay, Surrealism movement. So now I will show you some important pictures of Surrealism. So you can see this is a very famous picture, The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. I hope you have all seen the picture. So look here, how bizarre the images is. There are some clocks which are actually melting. So which suggests that time is actually passing off. So here is a kind of peculiar animal figure. Okay, so look at the picture. This is all a very bizarre picture. Okay, you cannot find any proper logic behind the portrayal of such pictures. So it is a very famous painting by Salvador Dali, The Persistence of Memory. Okay, The Persistence of Memory. Now the next important painting, see this. This is also a surrealist painting. How beautifully the image is portrayed. It is also an eye, but it is also a tree from where a man is hanging and some kind of water flow is having underneath the tree, and there is an eye. So it is very symbolical. If you try to interpret the paintings, you will find it deeply symbolical. But there is no pattern. When we look at the painting at a glance, it seems that there is no meaning. What is the meaning of the painting? There is an eye, some waters are flowing, a man is hanging, but there are some important meanings, important symbol. That is why I have said that symbols are used to create, to tell you some tales, to tell you some stories. So symbols are used very appropriately, very deeply. So it's often very difficult to understand, but it looks beautiful, right? So this is another painting. It's beautiful, conveying something. Yes, Sahil. I will also show you some other paintings. Look at this. This is an eye, and behind the eye there is the sky. Okay, so this is also a surrealist painting. Very beautiful image, but it is trying to convey some idea. How beautifully the eye is portrayed. Look at the picture. Very nice. Okay. So another important picture is this. This is also a surrealist art. There is a sea. Some pages of the books are actually flying in the form of birds, right? So this is very brightly portrayed. Very bright colors are used, but it actually shows something very deep, symbolic, deeply symbolic. So these are the pictures of surrealism. Isn't it interesting? The art movements are always very interesting, right? Yes, it is really wow. When I have also collected all the pictures from internet, I am also saying this only word. This is a beautiful painting, and you can understand that the painters also have a high level of intellectual capacity to paint such things, right? So the art movements are always very interesting. Yes. Can I get these notes, ma'am? Sahil, actually, I have made it in the form of PPT. So you have to write all the important points. So please watch the recording session again to write it. I don't have any PDF right now. Okay, I don't have any PDF, but you can write it in your copy, all the important notes which I am saying. If you can't write it in the live session, don't worry, you can watch the recording session later. It will be saved. You can watch as many times as you can to prepare your notes. Okay. And actually, Dipti, yes, I will definitely provide notes, but Dipti, always remember that PDF notes, I think PDF notes are not so helpful to remember unless and until you write it in your own handwriting, it will get inside in your mind. Okay. सो जब आप अपनी हाथों से कुछ लिखते हो तो वो अपने दिमाग में बहुत अच्छी तरह से वो मेमोराइज हो जाता है, लेकिन अगर आप पीडीएफ से पढ़ोगे तो आप पढ़ोगे और भूल भी जाओगे. ये मेरे मानना है, इसीलिए मैं हमेशा चाहती हूँ कि आप खुद का नोट्स बनाओ. ओके, प्रिपेयर योर ओन नोट्स. So you can take materials from a number of books, you can go to internet, you can search any material, but just prepare your own notes, your own handwriting. So it often happens in the exam that when you trying to remember some points, you can only visualize your own copy where you have written the notes. You can't visualize any page of the book. Okay. So yes, handwritten notes are always good. So I suggest that as much notes as possible, please write in your own handwriting. That will help. But yes, some PDFs are also needed. I will share those PDFs. For example, the important summaries of important works. So you can't write the detailed summary. Okay, so for that case, you need to depend on PDFs. But these kind of short notes, I think you should write in your own handwriting so that you can remember who started the movement, what are the important features. So you can make a chart and write one by one. Okay, that will help. Okay, Kavita. Rifti, okay. So this is about Surrealism. Another important art movement is Impressionism. Okay, this is also very interesting art form. So what is Impressionism? Impressionism is actually a French art movement. It was also, look, all the marvelous art movement started in French, right? So Surrealism was also a French movement. Impressionism was also a French movement, originated during the 19th century. Okay, French art movement originated during the 19th century. Now, there is a famous work by Claude Monet. The work is titled as Impression Sunrise. Okay, Impression Sunrise is the name of the work, and from this work, critic Louis Leroy coined the term Impressionism. Okay, so there are basically two names. Claude Monet has written the work Impression Sunrise, and after reading his work, a critic named Louis Leroy actually coined the term Impressionism for this art movement. Okay. So it revolted against the idea of academic painting. Academic painting means very formal kind of painting which followed rules and logic and all those things. So it also revolted, Surrealism also revolted against the formal idea of painting. Okay, and which is also, you can say, that structured concept of painting. And this movement, Impressionism, also revolted against that. Now, the ideologies are different. Surrealism is mostly focusing on the unconscious mind, but Impressionism believes that we do not see the object, but the light reflected from it. That is the impression. So, the light actually creates some impression in our mind. After that, we can understand which object we are seeing. So, according to the Impressionist artists, that when we are seeing an object, we are not seeing actually the object, but actually the light reflected from it. We are actually watching the light. And after the reflection of the light in our eye, we are getting the impression of that object. So that is why it is known as Impressionism. Okay, and ordinary things are portrayed in visible brush strokes. Those of you who knows painting, you can understand it very well. The brush strokes, visible brush strokes. So you can just visualize the strokes on the painting itself. I will show you some specimen of impressionist paintings. So this is the major feature, that we are just watching the impression, we are getting the impression from the light reflected on a particular object. That is the theory of impressionist artists. Okay. So another thing is that the artists do not portray real reflection of life, but only the impressions which any person or object carries to them. Yes, what I have said. And they do not portray the real reflection of life. Okay, so they are only portraying the impression. So you can very well understand that impression cannot be seen, right? Impression is mostly to realize. So it is a kind of abstract concept. But the impressionist artists are actually trying to paint the abstract idea. They are actually trying to give some abstract impression into a concrete form. That is why the presentation is also very unique in that sense. Okay. So the artists do not portray real reflection of life, but only the impressions which any person or any object carries to them. Okay. So they are trying to portray something abstract into a concrete form. That was the purpose of impressionist artists. And ordinary subjects are portrayed with unusual visual angles. So I have talked about the light. Okay, so from which angle the light is falling on the object or on the person, with the change of the angle, with the change of the focusing of the light, the impression is also changed. Okay, so this is all about the focusing of light. Impression is all talking about the focusing of light. So here very ordinary incidents are portrayed, ordinary scenes are portrayed, but with unusual visual angles. So they are taking it from numerous angles from where the light is actually focusing on the object. So that is about impressionist art. Now what about impressionism in literature? If you read some impressionist works, you will find that in literature, few selected details are used to convey detailed incidents. Okay, so in impressionist writings, what will you see? That some few details will be given, but they will be sufficient to create before your eyes a kind of picture. So they are actually trying to portray pen pictures. Okay, so they are portraying pen pictures with the help of very few selected details, but the details are so powerful that it will be enough to create a picture before your eyes. Okay, so that is the feature of impressionism. Now who are the writers? Van Gogh, Renoir, they are famous impressionist painters, and Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, D.H. Lawrence, Joseph Conrad, you can take them as impressionist writers. If you read Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, you will see that where Marlowe is actually describing the black people, so he is actually describing them in various parts: black heads, black hands. Okay, so all these few details are given, and you can very well imagine before your eyes that some African people, some black aboriginal people are working hard to earn their livelihood. So that is the impression. That is the impression the details are actually giving to you. And in case of painting, it talks about the reflection of the light on the painting. Okay. So now see some pictures. Look how bright the picture is. This is an impressionism. Now the scene is very similar. The scene is very common scene, but you can see the use of light, how the light is focusing on. And here you can see a person is walking with an umbrella. Okay, so look at the use of color, look at the use of brush strokes. Very bright colors are used, and visible brush strokes. You can see that it is just an abstract structure, right? It is just to give a concrete shape of an abstract idea. So it's a beautiful example of impressionism. The light from the lampposts are actually reflecting on the street. So look at the image here, how the light is reflected, and this is how the person is seen under this light. Okay, yes, this is sublime, absolutely, very, very beautiful paintings. So now I will show you the next painting. Look at this. This is an image of a market or some fair, I think. But look at the how the people are portrayed. Very, very nice. It just seems that they are almost coming into life, right? Yes, very beautiful. So this is also an very interesting impressionist painting. Very beautiful portrayal of a crowd, right? So next picture, look at this. This is an image of a sunset. But look at how the light of the sunset is actually reflecting on the trees. This side looks more reddish, this side looks more dark. Yes, Kavita, very beautiful pictures are there. So you can also search more in internet if you want to see. Very beautiful impressionist paintings. So this is an image of a sunset, but look how beautifully it is portrayed with visible strokes, and there are only the use of bright colors and the use of light. You can very well see and you can also very well contrast the two art movements, Surrealism and Impressionism, right? So, and this is another picture of a bridge, and it's a time of it's daytime, and look at how the shadows are portrayed here. It's a sunny day, so here the sunlight is reflected on the water, and here there are some people who are on this boat, but they are under the shadow. So this is the play of light. Okay, so half light, half shadow is thing. Yes, beautiful paintings. Okay, so these are all examples of Impressionism. Now I will talk to you about Imagism, another very important movement. Imagism is also associated with the modern age in English literature. Okay, so Imagism is also a kind of important movement. Now, what is Imagism? Imagism is actually an early 20th century movement. Okay, Imagism is actually early 20th century movement. It started from 1912 and it continued up to 1917. It flourished in England and America. Okay. It flourished in England and America, and it was inspired by the poetic theory of T.E. Hume. Okay, inspired by some poetic theory of T.E. Hume. And Imagist poetry is written in free verse. Okay. I will when I will teach you important types of prosody, I will talk to you about free verse, blank verse, couplet, all these kinds of forms. Yes, William Carlos Williams, Ezra Pound, they are all associated with Imagism. And Imagism was inspired by Japanese haiku tradition. Haiku is a particular type of German poetry. Okay. I will talk about haiku when I will teach you literary terms. Haiku is a very short Japanese poem. There are some rhyme scheme also. Okay, so this movement, Imagist movement, was actually inspired by Japanese tradition. And what are the features? That the writer's impression of a particular object is described precisely through images. So Imagism is mainly concerned with images. But as in Impressionism, you will see that the focusing of light is very important. Okay, but here it is not that. It talks about the writer's realization. Here impression means the realization of a particular object. How the writer is seeing the object or some incident from his own perspective. So he or she is trying to describe it precisely through images. So just with the help of some images, you will get the impression or the realization of the writer. Okay, and it does not use any extra word for ornamentation. It does not use any extra word. So there is no purpose of ornamenting. There is only use of images. Through it, the whole impression of the writer is described. Okay, so Now, as Sahil have already said, Ezra Pound started the movement. Ezra Pound is very important figure. You all know Ezra Pound is famous for his cantos. Right? Cantos is a very famous work. So Ezra Pound started the movement, and he also edited the first anthology, The Imagists. This is the name of the anthology, The Imagists. So it was the first anthology of the Imagist poets, and Ezra Pound was the editor of the anthology. Okay. Now, Amy Lowell later became the leader. So after Ezra Pound, Amy Lowell became the leader of the movement. Now, who are the other poets? HD. HD means Hilda Doolittle. This is the abbreviated form of the name, Hilda Doolittle, William Carlos Williams, F.S. Klein, Ford Madox Ford. They are the major Imagist writers or Imagist poets. And In a Station of the Metro, this is a very famous poem by Ezra Pound. A beautiful example of Imagist writing. And Above the Dock is a poem by T.E. Hume. T.E. Hume, whose poetic theory actually inspired the movement. Okay, so In a Station of Metro, Above the Dock, these are the some iconic examples of Imagist writings. Now, the Imagist writers believe that poetry should use the language of everyday speech. Very similar to the idea of Wordsworth in lyrical balance, right? But Wordsworth is specifically talking about using the language of common people, using the rustic language of the common man. Okay, but Ezra Pound and others are not talking about the rustic language, but they are talking about the use of everyday speech, the normal conversations which we use daily. Okay, that is why I have said that Imagist poets are not interested to ornamenting their language with all types of figures of speech. Okay, so they are just trying to use the language of everyday speech. Use the language of everyday speech. Okay. So that was the purpose. Yes, Hilda Doolittle. He is also T.S. Eliot. Yes, absolutely. In Milieu Fabro. In A Better Craftsman. Milieu Fabro, yes. Okay. So, now, another movement is existentialism. This is very, very important movement, and also very, very popular during that time. The existentialist idea you have found in almost all the works. Okay. Poetry is spontaneous overflow. Yes, Rupali, this is said by Wordsworth. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling. Old English poem Seafarer has been translated by, very good Sahil, Seafarer has been translated by Ezra Pound, very good. So about existentialism. What is existentialism? It is another literary movement which mainly started after the Second World War. Okay. And also remember that the term existentialism was coined by Gabriel Marshall in 1940. Okay, yes, Myth of Sisyphus. So Gabriel Marshall in 1940s, and it originated out of the destruction of war. So you can understand that after the World War II, a lot of depression, a lot of frustration came to people, came to human mind, and the whole world is seen as indifferent place where all rules and views are unreliable. Okay, so the belief over the structure of the world, over the system of society is getting decreased, right? And human existence is questioned, which is also reflected in theater of the absurd. Okay, so after the Second World War, actually human existence is under question. The existentialist people are talking about that human beings are actually trying to find meaning in such a meaningless world. The whole world is meaningless, and the whole world is also hostile to human beings, but they are actually caught in such a kind of helpless situation that they have to endure such meaninglessness life. They have to endure such meaningless life, and when their existence is itself under question. Okay, so feeling of angst is there. And the first philosopher is Kierkegaard. So from Kierkegaard's philosophy, actually existentialism was inspired. Now, um, yes, what I have said already, human beings are desperately trying to find meaning where there is no possibility of that. So the world is almost meaningless. There is no possibility to find meaning, but human beings are desperately trying to find some meaning. And that is why everything is looking very absurd. Okay. Yes, as Sahil has said, the best example is Myth of Sisyphus, written by Albert Camus. Now, what is the story of the Sisyphus? It is mentioned that Sisyphus is given the task to roll up a stone on a steep hill, and the stone again falls down. Naturally, it's a steep hill, so if you try to roll up a stone up the hill, after some time, it will definitely fall down. Again, Sisyphus is trying to do that. Again, it falls down. Again, he tries to do that. Again, he falls down. So, what is this task all about? It signifies the meaninglessness of life, the absurdity of life. But human beings have to perform all these kinds of absurd tasks very mechanically. Okay, so Sisyphus is doing the job very mechanically. But he also knows that there is no point to do some such useless tasks, such meaningless tasks. Yes, we know life is meaningless, yet we try to find some meaning. Yes, Kafka has written Metamorphosis. So the myth of Sisyphus is a very good example of existentialist philosophy. Now, other works are theorists are Jean-Paul Sartre, yes, Franz Kafka, as Rupali has said, Metamorphosis, Albert Camus, Samuel Beckett. I will talk about Theatre of Absurd later. So they are all associated with existential philosophy, this philosophy of despair. Okay, and it opposes positivism and rationalism. Obviously, there is no point to rationalize. The world itself is irrational, it is absurd. Okay, so that is the philosophy of existentialist thinkers. Now, the next important movement is Dadaism. I have already told you that Surrealism was actually influenced by Dadaism. Now I will talk to you about what is Dadaism all about. So Dadaism is actually an European art movement which was started in 20th century. Okay, and it developed as a reaction to the First World War. As existentialism developed after the Second World War, Dadaism developed after the First World War. It is also an art movement, like Surrealism and Impressionism. Okay, so developed as a reaction to First World War, it also rejected logic, reason, aestheticism, and prioritized nonsense, irrational topics. So Dadaism is actually celebration of nonsense, you may say, celebration of meaninglessness. They rejected all sorts of logic and reason in life, and they prioritize the use of irrational topics. So they actually trying to find beauty in the irrational things. Okay, so the Dadaist paintings also are apparently very shocking. It protested against violence. Violence means violence of during the World War I. So it also protested against violence. And the meaning of Dada is actually a colloquial French term for hobby horse. Actually, Dada is a kind of nonsensical term. There is no such meaning. That is why it is known as Dadaism. And Tristan Tzara is a very famous figure associated with Dadaism. And Tristan Tzara invented the name Dadaism for this movement. Okay, so subconscious, shocking, and nihilistic imagery. Nihilistic imagery, you all know the famous idea of Friedrich Nietzsche that God is dead. So that is associated with nihilism. Nihilism also talks about the negation of everything. Okay, there is nothing positive, there is no God. The world is almost in a chaotic situation. So all these kinds of imagery are used. Jean-Paul Sartre, lover of Simone de Beauvoir. Yes, Sahil. Okay. So nihilistic imagery, subconscious imagery are also there. Now see this painting. This is Dadaism. Apparently it's very irrational, right? And also very shocking. So these are some Dadaist picture. Dadaist form of art. This is one art. You can see the next picture. This is another art. Here Dada is written. So apparently it's very irrational. You don't find some meanings. There are so many objects, so many things are portrayed, but there are some symbolical significance. You can see there is a figure of a kind of terrific animal, sea animal. There is a lady. Okay, so these are all, yes, yes, Sahib. Okay, so these are the pictures of Dadaism. I will show you the, okay, so these are the two pictures of Dadaism. You can also find some more pictures in internet. So if you are interested, you can search for that. Okay. So that's all about Dadaism. Now, the next important movement is Symbolism. Very, very important movement and very mostly used in literature, particularly Symbolism. Okay, so what is Symbolism? Symbolism is also a French movement against realism and naturalism. I will talk about realism and naturalism later. So it is actually a reaction against realism and naturalism. Now, who first used the term symbolism? Gustave Cahen and Jean Moore. Gustave Cahen and Jean Moore, they first used the term symbolism in 1886. Okay, so the term was first used in 1886 by two French people, Gustave Cahen and Jean Moore. Okay, so they believed that there exists analogies between human world and outer world. So they are trying to find connections between human world and the outside world. Okay, and they believed that actual truth can only be expressed through symbols. This was the belief of the symbolist people, that actual truth can only be expressed through symbols. And Arthur Symons, you all have heard the name Arthur Symons. He has written the famous work, The Symbolist Movement. So you can say this is almost the manifesto of this work. Arthur Symons wrote The Symbolist Movement. Okay, very important work of symbolism. Now, the next thing is that Stephen Mallarme hosted symbolist receptions every Tuesday in his apartment. So Stephen Mallarme is another symbolist writer. So he hosted a kind of meeting of all symbolist poets and writers. So the meeting was hosted by Stephen Mallarme every Tuesday in his apartment. Now, who visited this meeting? Who joined this meeting? Edward Munch, Paul Gauguin, James Abbott Whistler, etc. So they all visited they all joined the meeting which was held by Stephen Mallarme in his own house every Tuesday. Okay, and according to Mallarme, symbolism is an art of evoking an object little by little. Symbolism is an art of evoking an object little by little so as to reveal a mood, or conversely, the art of choosing an object. Okay, so this is about, this is a quotation given by Stephen Mallarme, that symbolism is an art of evoking an object little by little so as to reveal a mood, or conversely, the art of choosing an object. That is the definition of symbolism given by Stephen Mallarme. Okay. Now, another movement is that Expressionism. Expressionism is another important movement. Now, what is Expressionism? Expressionism is actually a German movement, both in literature and also in art. It started in 1910. It was a revolt against realism. Okay, so it also revolted against realism, started in 1910. Now, it expresses a personal vision of human life or society through exaggeration and distortion. So, it talks about the vision of human life in a very distorted manner, in an exaggerated way. Okay. So, that is the purpose of expressionist artists. the focus actually shifted from portrayal of society to the soul of man. So earlier, society was prioritized in literature and in art, but Expressionism talks about the portrayal of human soul. Okay, the portrayal of human soul with some distortion and some exaggeration. So that is the purpose of Expressionism here, right? And if you read some expressionist literature, you will find that the protagonist is emotional and anxious. Okay, the protagonist is emotional and anxious. So these are the feature of Expressionism, German movement. Now, another feature is that it is also departed from normal syntax, abandoned standard modes of characterization, talked about evils in society like racism, suppression, etc. So it tries to portray the society in a very negative light. All the bad things of societies are portrayed vividly, like racism, suppression, etc. And the standard mode of characterization, the linear mode of characterization is abandoned. The normal syntax is abandoned. So everything is very, very bizarre, very, very distorted. And if you see the painting, you will find some jagged lines and use of lurid colors in expressionist arts also. Okay. In expressionist arts. So this is a very famous picture, Expressionism. This is the picture which is titled as The Scream. The Scream by Edward Munch. Very famous painting. I hope you all have seen this painting. Okay. Very famous painting, The Scream by Edward Munch. The Scream by Edward Munch. Okay, so this is a very so you can see that the impression. You can see that the image is portrayed very vividly, and the use of lurid colors you can see the use of various lines, okay, in the Scream. Very famous painting, The Scream, painted by Edward Munch. So the next painting this is also another famous painting, The Starry Night. The Starry Night by Van Gogh. Another very famous painting, The Starry Night by Van Gogh. Okay, this is also, you can see the use of lurid colors. It's a very colorful painting, and you can denote the use of jagged lines also. Okay, so that is also a very famous painting, The Starry Night by Van Gogh. Now, this is also another painting of Expressionism, expressionist painting. You can see this is the scene of a forest. A man is going inside the forest. Beautiful picture, right? So this is another image, and you can see this is another expressionist painting. It is an image of a kind of town or village. There are numerous houses. 2-3 people are standing here. So you notice the use of color, use of lurid colors in this image of Expressionism, and everything is presented in a very distorted way. Okay, everything is distorted, nothing is organized, right? So that is about Expressionism. Now we will talk about Naturalism. Now, what is Naturalism? Naturalism actually began as a branch of Realism around 1880 to 1930. Okay. So Naturalism as a movement started in 1880 and it continued up to 1930. Okay, it was mainly a movement in French painting. So Naturalism was also a movement in painting. Later, it also started in literature. Now, the naturalists people believed that human beings are existed in the order of nature. and his character and behavior is determined by heredity and environment. Thank you, Kavita. Yes, they are all very nice pictures. So his character and behavior is determined by heredity and environment. So as you have already seen that the transcendentalists people are believed that human beings are nature are united. But in this movement, naturalism, the naturalist people believe that human beings are existed in the order of nature. So human beings are part of a natural order, and his character and behavior is determined by heredity and environment. These are the two important factors. So environment actually determined their characters, and also some hereditary features are important to determine the character of a human being. There is no end to yes, Sahil, there is no end to these movements. So focused on explaining things in a more scientific way. So naturalist people actually emphasizes on the role of science. So to express things in a more organized way, in a more scientific way, that is the purpose of naturalist artists. Okay. So that is the purpose of naturalist artists. Now, it was against romanticism. So so romanticism is actually not talking about science. Okay, romanticism is mainly based on imagination. But this movement, naturalism, is talking about expressing everything scientifically, which means very logically or systematically. Okay. The Goncourt brothers believed to be the first user of naturalism in literature in Germany. Germany Lesartas. Germany Lesartas is the title of a work written by Goncourt brothers, which was published in 1865. So it was believed that Goncourt brothers were the first user of naturalism in literature. So at first it was started in painting in the field of art, but it was brought into literature by the Goncourt brothers. Okay, and Émile Zola started the movement. La Roman Experimental is actually a novel which is organized in the mode of scientific experiment. And Theodore Dreiser, Stephen Crane, Edith Wharton, Jack London, Maupassant, they are all the famous writers and the artists related to naturalism. Okay. So you can see this is an example of naturalist art, a painting of nature, naturalist art. The next picture is this one. They are all examples of naturalist arts. Okay. This is also another picture, naturalist art. This one, it's a very beautiful picture. So these are all examples of naturalism. Now we will talk about realism. So what is realism? Realism means, realism is actually a French movement during 1865 to 1910. It was also a French movement. It revolted against the exoticism and exaggeration of romanticism. So romanticism is mainly based on imagination, but realism is talking about realistic things. It was a revolt against the exaggeration and exoticism of romanticism, right? So it represents life and social world as it is seen by common people. Okay. So representation of life and social world as it's seen by common people. Now the settings were very authentic, very believable characters were there, themes related to money and class. So you can see very hardcore realities are being expressed. Very hardcore realities are being expressed in realism. Okay. and it rejected treatment of characters in heroic and sentimental way. So there is no point of sentimentalizing something in an exaggerated way. It just talked about presenting the hardcore realities of life, presenting the hardcore real situations of life. Okay, so stark realism, you can say. Now, the important writers are Honorary de Balzac, Gustave Flaubert, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Henry James, Mark Twain, in British literature, Thomas Hardy and Charles Dickens. So they are all considered as realistic writers, the writers of realism. And it preceded naturalism. So you can see this is some pictures of realistic art. Very real images are portrayed. There is no point of bizarre or unconscious images, right? So this is one picture. This is another picture of realism. This is another picture. All are realistic. You can see that it is a description of a sea, a voyage. So all are very realistic portrayal. The sufferings and trials, tribulations of human life are portrayed. Okay, so the next important is theater of cruelty. Another important movement, theater of cruelty. It was founded by Antonin Artaud in his book Theater and Its Double. Theater and Its Double is a book written by Antonin Artaud where he actually founded the movement. Okay, it started in late 1930s. It started in late 1930s and it was a primitive ceremonial experience intended to liberate the human subconscious and reveal man to himself. So this is actually the definition of theater of cruelty. It talks about some primitive ceremonial experience which actually liberate the subconscious mind of a human. Okay, so that is the major purpose of theater of cruelty. Now, the purpose is to create pain and horror by using gestures, sounds and symbols instead of words. So here cruelty does not mean violence. Okay, cruelty does not mean torturing or physical violence. Cruelty here means that the portrayal of reality will be so shocking, will be so disturbing that the audience will be horrified. Audience will feel pain. So that is the purpose of theater of cruelty, to make the audience know that there is no point of romanticizing, there is no scope of romanticizing the nature. Reality is not like, reality is not so romantic. Reality is full of horrible situations, full of problems and sufferings. So theater of cruelty actually trying to portray the life, the real life as it is, with all its violence and horrible things. That is why the purpose is to create pain and horror. Okay. And the very famous example of Antonin Artaud is the play La Sensi. Another writers are Jean Genet, Peter Brook. They were other playwrights associated with theater of cruelty. Okay. Now the next important topic is epic theater. This is another important movement, epic theater. What is epic theater? Epic theater is founded by Bertolt Brecht in mid-20th century. It's much later. In mid-20th century, German dramatist Bertolt Brecht actually found epic theater. Okay, and the term was coined by Erwin Piscator. Episodic structure is used, which means there are subplots and lengthy time period is used, and the scenes are short and non-linear. Okay, so these are all the features of epic theater. Now, according to Bertolt Brecht, theater should encourage rationality among audience rather than making them emotional. So, theater should encourage rationality among the audience rather than making them emotional. So, that must be the purpose of theater. Theater should not make people emotional, rather encourage rationality in them. And that is the purpose of alienation effect. Alienation effect means the audience must alienate themselves. The audience must alienate themselves from the characters, and they must realize that they are seeing just a play. This is not the reality. Okay, so that is alienation effect, to break the fourth wall, the wall between the audience and the characters. Okay, so I will talk about alienation effect more when I will discuss literary terms. Okay, and what are the features of epic theater? Use of light, half curtain, multiple roles played by one person. These are the important features. Yes, yes. Verfremdung effect is actually alienation effect. This is the German term. Yes, Sahil, you are right. Verfremdung effect means the alienation effect. Yes. So, gestus acting technique is used. Gestus means gesture. So, the gestures are prioritized in acting. Facial expressions, tone of voice are very important. Okay, for the actors. Now, the very famous examples are Bertolt Brecht's The Caucasian Chalk Circle, Mother Courage and Her Children, Three Penny Opera, etc. Okay. Now, the next important topic is theater of absurd. Very important, very famous topic. Okay, Sahil. So, theater of absurd. Critic Martin Esslin coined the term in his 1960 essay, The Theater of the Absurd. This is the title of the essay where the phrase is first used. And it refers to a group of playwrights during 1950 to 1980s. And I have already told you about existentialism. So theater of absurd is mainly based on the ideas of existentialism and also Camus' essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. Yes, Martin Esslin coined the term. Now, what are the features? You all know the features of absurd theater. No logical action is there. Long pauses between dialogues. No clear-cut setting is described. Dialogues are very ambiguous. Very good example is Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. Okay. You cannot find any kind of plot inside the play. Only the two characters are saying nothing to be done, nothing to be done. Then some other two characters arrive, Lucky and Pozo. They are also behaving in an absurd way. Okay, so these are all about the features of absurd playwrights. Waiting for Godot is a very good example. The other plays of Beckett are also example of absurd plays like Endgame, Kraft's Last Step, and also the plays of Arthur Adamov, Harold Pinter, Eugene Ionesco. The Rhinoceros is a very important play. Edward Albee, The Zoo Story. So they are all the major playwrights. Okay. Yes, Edward Albee's Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Yes, this is also another important work. So these are all the important absurd dramatists. Okay. Now the next important movement is Oxford movement. Now Oxford movement is mainly associated with religion. It is a 19th century religious movement. Started from 1833, continued up to 1845. It talks about the emancipation of the Catholics, and Anglo-Catholicism emerged. Okay, so the Catholic emancipation happened. The Catholics were given more importance. And what happened that in the Oxford movement, the participants wanted a renewal of Roman Catholicism against the Protestant tendencies. So they want to renew the ideas of Roman Catholicism. That is called Catholic emancipation. And to make a protest against the Protestant tendencies. Okay, so Lucky के suitcase में क्या था? There was an absurd yes, Sahil. Okay, so okay, this question is also from Waiting for Godot. The question was also absurd. Yes, Sahil. Oh, NT often asks this kind of question just to confuse you. Okay, so be prepared for all these kind of absurd questions. Now, John Henry Newman was the leader of Oxford movement. Okay. So they raised their demands. They raised their demands through a series of 99 papers, which is called Tracts for the Times. Okay. So Tract for the Time is actually a collection of 99 papers which contained all the demands of the revolutionaries. And among the 99 papers, Newman wrote 24 papers. Okay, so it is associated with religion. And who are the other members? John Cable, Isaac Williams, William Palmer, Church of England, they are all the important members. And after the movement, Church of England became more sacramental. So this was the result. Church of England became more sacramental. Okay. गोडो आने वाला है, हाँ कविता, गोडो आने वाला है मगर नहीं आते at the end of the play. John von Neumann is the soul of the Huxley was the founder. Yes, Sahil. Yes. So now another important movement is Harlem Renaissance. Okay. So what is Harlem Renaissance? Harlem Renaissance is also an African American movement in literature, music, painting, arts during 1917 and 1920s. So they are mainly associated with the black people, the black people of the African American black people. Okay, so according to Jim Crow law, the black people were restricted from every aspect of civilization. So Jim Crow law was passed and it was said that the black people were all barbarous. So they can't take part in any kind of civilized things. They can't eat in restaurants. They can't live in civilized towns. Okay, so they are almost marginalized towards a place called Harlem, which is a place in northern Manhattan. So from Harlem, the movement's name was Harlem Renaissance. Now the black people were revolted against all sorts of stereotypical representations of blacks in literature. Okay, so they revolted against that, and through this movement, black writers came into limelight. So it was a renaissance of the black people. Okay, and they wrote about the agony of themselves as marginalized people. And some very famous names are Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, Alan Locke, etc. So they are all the members of Harlem Renaissance, mainly associated with the black people. Okay. Now, next movement is Black Arts Movement. This is also a part of Harlem Renaissance, very similar to Harlem Renaissance. Okay, and it believed that the integration of white and black in American society is almost impossible. So it clearly says that there is no point of integration, there is no point of reconciliation between the white people and the black people. This is almost impossible. And it mainly talked about black nationalism, a separate form of nationalism, which talks about that blacks need a separate space to express their own plight. So the civilization made by the white people are not suitable for the black one. They are all marginalized. So they need a kind of separate space to express their own plight. So that is the main idea of Black Arts Movement, very closely related to Harlem Renaissance. Now, who are the writers? Amiri Baraka, Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, Larry Neal, etc. So they are all associated with Black Arts Movement. Okay. And Amiri Baraka started the movement in Harlem. So Black Arts Movement also started in Harlem by Amiri Baraka. And it enabled black people to establish their own publishing houses, magazines, and journals. So during the Harlem Renaissance, the black people are writing about their own plight, and to publish their works, to distribute their works among the readers, they established their own publishing houses, magazines, and journals. So that is the effect of Black Arts Movement. And as a result of that, African American studies were included as a separate study branch in universities. So in different universities, it is introduced as a separate subject, African American studies, a separate department. Okay, so that was the result of their movement. Yes, Toni Morrison's famous novel Beloved. In Beloved, Sula is the protagonist, Rupali. Yes, you are right. So another movement is New Apocalyptic Movement. Okay, what is New Apocalyptic Movement? It is actually a group of British, Scottish and Welsh poets of late 1930s and early 1940s. Now, this term New Apocalyptic is actually derived from an anthology, The New Apocalypse, in 1939, edited by J.F. Henry and Henry Triss. So, these two are the editors of the anthology, The New Apocalypse. And from this anthology, the movement has taken its title, New Apocalyptic title. Okay. Yes, Kavita, Ben Okri is an African writer. Famished Road is a very famous work. So, influenced by Surrealism and Romanticism. Okay. Mythology and prophetic beliefs are also there in their writings, and the most famous writers were Dylan Thomas, David Gascoigne, James Fraser, Watkins, etc. So, mainly, I have a short trick to remember these poets, ma'am. Neil Jordan had a BMW car. Larry Neil, June Jordan, Amiri Baraka. Oh my God, Sahil, superb technique. Neil Jordan had a BMW car. Neil means Larry Neil, June Jordan, Amiri Baraka, Toni Morrison, and Alice Walker. Wonderful, Sahil, wonderful. Beautiful technique. Okay, so it's great that you have invented such techniques. It's good. It's a good way to remember. Okay, so now another movement is Beat movement. It is also known as Beat generation. Beat generation writers or Beat movement. So what is Beat movement? Jack Kerouac coined the term Beat movement. It is actually a group of American writers of post-World War II. Post-World War II. Now it talks about how the writers felt depressed or beaten down. So beat generation means how the writers are beaten down after the World War II. Why they were beaten down? Due to depression, shocking experiences, frustrations, etc. So that is why the group is also called Beat generation, or beat poets, they are also called. So they used colloquial language, they portrayed women as marginalized, believed in sexual liberation. These are the important features. And drugs is a very important theme in their writings. Okay, so as I am talking about depression and frustration, that is why drugs become a very important theme. And Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, Lawrence Fielding Hetty, S. Burroughs, they are the major writers of Beat movement. Okay, Beat generation. These names are really confusing, ma'am. That's why I make this mnemonic. Yes, very good, Sahil. You can, the ultimate point is to remember. So how you can remember, that's up to you. Okay, so great. You can identify such tricks. Yes. Okay, so that is the end of today's class. I know there are some more movements and literary groups. I will cover it up in my next class. So I will meet you again on Monday at 3 p.m. Okay, in this YouTube channel. But I want to make an announcement that tomorrow, that is on Saturday, tomorrow at 8 a.m. Okay, I have a special class on Unacademy app. I have a special class. Please join the class. We will talk about some important MCQs on the age of Chaucer. Okay, so from Anglo-Saxon, MCQ from Anglo-Saxon to the age of Chaucer, which I have already taught you. So please join this class. Okay, this is one class, and Saturday at 3 p.m. Okay, I have another special class. Okay, I have another special class which will be on teaching aptitude questions, paper 1. Teaching aptitude questions on paper 1. Okay. So this class is of first paper of your general paper, and this will be of your subject. And I will meet again Monday 3 p.m. on YouTube channel. Okay. So thank you Sahil. So this is to inform you all, and please join the Telegram channel which I have mentioned above, and please do come to the special class when I will discuss MCQs. because without your presence this class will be very boring for me. Okay, so I am talking about MCQs, and you have to give the answers, so please join so that you can participate in this quiz class. Okay. Yes, Kavita. I am starting from paper one. I am starting paper one from tomorrow. So tomorrow at 3 p.m. I have the paper one class, and tomorrow at 8 a.m. I have this special class of MCQs. That will be practice session. I am teaching you the whole week, and on weekend we will practice MCQs. Okay, so that's it for today. So please join tomorrow's class. I will post all the links of my special classes in the Telegram channel. Okay, so please join the Telegram channel to get updates. Okay, students, so thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day and bye-bye. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Okay, so bye-bye.